morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are and what time it is where you're joining me from today. This is Zoliswa Church and I welcome you to Speak It with Zoliswa. Today is the 1st of May 2019 in South Africa. On the 1st of May of every year, we celebrate the Workers' Day. So this is in support of the struggles that our workers have gone through. If you're a worker, whether you're working for somebody in terms of working in a corporate space, for a small business, maybe even working for yourself, a worker is a worker is a worker. There are different challenges that present themselves in terms of being in the working space, and we acknowledge them and we start thinking about those challenges and how we can overcome those as a country. And this happened just a week before the elections, national government elections that are going to take place, which made things even more exciting in terms of the flavor that the elections are bringing to the conversations of this day. So, T, thoughts, emotions, and actions. As usual, as I'm sitting on this 1st of May, I'm reminded of back in the day when I used to be a union representative. That's what's called a shop steward. I didn't really know much about what I was doing. This is almost 20 years ago. I was still really wet behind my ears, but I had this vigor and enthusiasm to serve other people in different ways. And the way that I could do at that stage was by way of being a representative to the workers, because I was a worker and I identified with the challenges that the core employees or the core workers were experiencing at that time. So fast forward to 10 years later or so, I was working in the human resources space. And so I found myself being called to one of the divisions that I used to be responsible for, because the company that I worked for, it had about 80% of its employees were blue-collar workers. And the company had introduced a scanner for purposes of stock taking. So the stock taking was no longer going to be done manually by 10 people over a period of a week, but it could easily be done by 2 people, and it would be finished by 1 day. And all of the information that is required in terms of giving an update on the warehouse, what should be replenished, what's about to expire, and what needs to be changed, all of those kinds of things was all going to be done within a short space of time by 2 people using this barcoding scanner. And so I got invited to mediate between the general manager as well as the union members or the employees of the of this warehouse, and they were represented by the union official because they wanted an allowance. They used to do this manually, and now they are going to be using the scanner. So it means that the employer has introduced something new in the scope of responsibility that they are used to. And so when I spoke to them, this is about 8-10 years ago, when I spoke to them, I said, guys, it was before I got comfortable with the topic of the 4th Industrial Revolution. We were not even using the words by then. 4th Industrial Revolution was probably still a concept that was being crafted and not really coming to challenge us as it is doing today. And I said to them, can you imagine if you want this allowance and you get the allowance and tomorrow you get retrenched? After that retrenchment, there is an opportunity for only 1 or 2 people that are left behind, so that those people can utilize the skills that are required. A higher position, skill set that is unique in terms of what you have right now, that will be required, because the direction that the organizations are taking is forward-looking. We cannot continue doing things manually like we did in the past, because we have to be effective in the way that we do things. We have to be more efficient in the manner that we do things. It is only if we do things that way that will be more competitive as the business. So they understood, they didn't understand, they understood, but I suppose they just accepted or welcomed me and accepted what I said, not to say that they were sold or they understood it to such an extent that they internalized it. So that got me thinking now, as we celebrate the Workers' Day today, what is the mindset that you as a worker have Do you have the growth mindset that's going to keep you relevant as the time goes by? I've just made mention of the fourth industrial revolution. What it means is that the way of doing things as we know it to be today is changing. It has already begun changing. And the skill set, especially the manual labor, may not necessarily be required in its intensity as it is today. We have a lot of automation that's taking place. We speak digitalization, we speak the language of agility, we speak, of course, the fourth industrial revolution, we speak a whole lot of concepts that have to do with the robotization. So what we used to do with our hands and we used to take a long time to perform as tasks will be done and performed and completed by way of pressing a button, or it will be performed by robots that are not going to be paid the salaries or the wages that we're paying. So how relevant do you keep yourself in the light of the changes that the market, the world of work is taking going forward? In the event that in your space, in your organization, there were to be changes that have to do with digitalization, with automation, with robotization tomorrow, would you be able to sustain yourself for a period of, say, 6 months, whilst you are reskilling yourself or trying to find an alternative? Have you opened your mind to say you will receive any form of education that will be able to take you to the future, that will prepare you for an alternative form of employment that may present itself to you? It may not necessarily be formal employment as you know it to be, but it may be a different way of rendering services that's going to earn you some kind of remuneration or some kind of income to keep you going. This is the time when we have to open up. We're not going to go backwards in terms of how the work is being done. We have to follow what the developed as well as the highly developing countries are doing. We have to be willing and able. The ability can be imparted upon you by way of reskilling if you have the willingness. And the willingness comes with the growth mindset that I'm talking about. So I thought that as we're celebrating Workers' Day today, as I'm sipping my tea and I'm having all of these thoughts that trigger certain emotions, and I'm planning on actions that I'm going to take, let me just inspire you to take actions that are going to be in line with your future as I do so. Remember, I love hearing from you. Please leave your comments at the bottom here so that I know that we are together. As usual, until the next video, this is Zoliswa. Keep building your dream.